Starlink Internet is the future of internet connection, and it's only getting better. It's a system of satellites that provide internet to users on the ground, and it's available in select areas. With numerous satellites in orbit, and considering their proximity to the Earth, they were visible for a few minutes in the northwest sky. This and more in today's video. Kicking us off, SpaceX Starlink satellite train lights up the northwest night sky. People in the northwest of the US and Canada were confused over the weekend when they saw a bright trail of lights in the sky that almost looked like a train. It looks like the mystery has now been solved, and it turns out that aliens are not responsible. Over the weekend, people in parts of Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, and other nearby states could see a train-like trail of lights moving through the sky. It's not a Christmas movie scene or a group of UFOs. This Friday, SpaceX launched 53 Starlink Internet satellites from Florida. The light that was moving through the sky was a group of them. "Yo, what's up in Seattle's sky? What is this trail of light that moves slowly?" said one Twitter user. People were so amazed by what they saw that they said similar things. Link for Universe's Adrian Fartade shared a great video clip. An announcement from SpaceX says, on Friday, August 19th at 3:21 p.m. Eastern Time, SpaceX launched 53 Starlink satellites from Space Launch Complex 40, SLC-40, at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. This was the 9th flight for the Falcon 9 first stage booster supporting this mission, which previously launched GPS-3 Space Vehicle 04, GPS-3 Space Vehicle 05, Inspiration-4, AX-1, Nilesat 301, and now 4 Starlink missions. Starlink has also been shining through the skies before. The phenomenon has happened more than once, including this year and in 2020 and 2021. Fun fact, astronomers and people who like to look at the stars can go to findstarlink.com to find out when Starlink will next be seen in their area. Next, T-Mobile phones will connect to Starlink for free starting next year. T-Mobile and SpaceX have said that Starlink satellites that will be launched next year will be able to connect directly to T-Phones mobiles using the cellular bands that are already in use. The companies want to make global roaming possible whenever satellite coverage is available. The device would be added to T-Mobile plans for free. Elon Musk of SpaceX and Mike Sievert of T-Mobile made the announcement at the space company's Starbase in Texas. Even though both executives emphasized the depth of the announcement, it's not like it's the first time something like this has happened. In fact, this is exactly what Link showed last year with its still-working test satellite. The startup wants to use a small constellation to send emergency messages and alerts all over the world. Starlink does have a bigger presence in orbit, so in theory, it should be able to connect more often and at a higher speed. But the word is theoretically, because it doesn't look like this connectivity has been shown in space yet. We need to do more than just reprogram the satellite. We're making a special antenna that will be the most advanced phased array antenna in the world, Musk said at the event. They have to be able to pick up a very quiet signal from your cell phone. There's a lot of complicated hardware and software because it's moving so fast. At 17,000 miles per hour, it's flying over our heads. Most of the time, a cell phone tower doesn't move at 17,000 miles per hour. At first, the service will only allow text messages and maybe messaging apps, but Sievert warned that we haven't actually started working with other companies. It's a bit of a technical problem that we need help with from the partner. There might also be a long wait of about half an hour before the message is sent or received. Musk, on the other hand, said that the antenna and service could, in the future, allow for multiple voice calls and real-time messaging. For now, the service will only work with T-licensed mobile spectrum. This makes it sort of exclusive. But both Sievert and Musk said that they would like to make deals with providers in other countries that use compatible spectrum. They proposed a deal called reciprocal roaming. This too is still up in the air. Sievert said over and over that the product and service itself are still being worked out, but you can expect to hear more in the coming months as the companies in question work out the details and the tech is shown. Moving on, when will Starlink Internet be available? Starlink is currently available in the US's northern latitudes and a few other places. Starlink is becoming more and more available all the time. Entering your address on the Starlink website is the best way to find out when it will be available to you. When you put in your address, Starlink will tell you when you can expect Starlink to be available in your area. You can also put down a deposit of $110 to $500 to secure your place on the Starlink Internet wait list. Depending on whether you choose Starlink Business or not, the advertised download speeds for Starlink range from 50 to 500 megabits per second. Analysts from outside Starlink confirm that the average download speed is around 100 megabytes per second. This means that Starlink is fast enough for streaming video, playing games, learning online, and working remotely. Customers' biggest problem with Starlink is that it sometimes stops working. To be fair, Starlink did warn us about service interruptions. When Starlink's service goes down, it's often because there are gaps in the constellation of satellites. The Starlink constellation looks like a fishnet spinning around the Earth. If satellite A moves out of your line of sight before satellite B gets close enough, you'll lose service. Over the next few years, as more satellites are put into orbit and the Starlink satellite constellation is built out, satellite internet service will always be available without service interruptions. How does Starlink compare to Viasat and HughesNet? Starlink internet download speeds are said to be between 50 and 250 megabytes per second, which puts it in the same general category as Viasat's 100 megabits plan, Platinum Unlimited 100. With speeds of up to 500 megabits per second, Starlink Business is in a league of its own. HughesNet's fastest speed is 25 megabits per second, which is fast enough for streaming but may be slower than Starlink or Viasat. Some satellite providers do have high latency, which is another aspect of speed you might not think about. Starlink also has unlimited data, which is a first for satellite plans. No one knows how long this will last though. High latency, also called lag, means that there will be a noticeable delay between when you ask for information on the internet, like clicking on a link to ask to see a web page, and when it shows up on your computer. This delay is caused by a number of things, such as the time it takes for your request to travel to servers and satellites orbiting the Earth and then back to you. Due to the way the satellite is built and where it is located, Starlink can offer lower latency than both Viasat and HughesNet. The satellites used by Starlink are much closer to Earth than those used by Viasat or HughesNet. Starlink satellites are in orbit about 550 kilometers, 340 miles, above the surface of the Earth, while Viasat and HughesNet satellites are about 35,405 kilometers, 22,000 miles away. Starlink satellites will have less latency than other satellite providers because they are closer to their customers. This is because data won't have to travel as far. The lower latency of Starlink will help with everyday internet use, online gaming, video conferencing, and other real-time tasks. Finally, as a bonus, India could get 6G services by 2030, says PM Modi. A few months from now, India might finally have 5G services. However, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already said that the country is also working on getting 6G services up and running by the end of 2030. This was said during a speech at the grand finale of the Smart India Hackathon 2022. Prime Minister Modi spoke at the event via video conferencing, where he said, "We are getting ready to launch 6G by the end of this decade. The government wants to see more gaming and entertainment ideas from Indians." This news comes after Ashwini Vaishnaw, the Union Telecom Minister, hinted that 5G services could start rolling out by October 12th. He had thought before that the launch might take place by the end of September. Vaishnaw said at the event that the services will be available in all major cities and key rural areas within the next 2 years. Also, the government is working to make sure that 5G services are affordable and easy to use. This is surprising because, as Vodafone Idea CEO Ravinder Thakur pointed out, telcos are looking at big price hikes to make up for the high costs of spectrum auctions. Thakur said this during an earnings call where he pointed out that the company had spent a lot of money to buy spectrum in recent auctions, which means that the upcoming 5G services will have to cost more. So it will be interesting to see what Vodafone Idea and other companies that offer 5G services decide to charge. Unfortunately, guys, that is all the time we had for today. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, cheers!